Remember when $100 felt like a lot of money? Like I'm rich kind of money? Now, $100 is basically a cover charge for leaving your house. You work harder than your parents did. You are more productive. You have better technology. Yet somehow, you can afford less. Why is that? Is it just bad luck? Is it corporate greed? Number. It is simple math that is working against you. Welcome to the modern economy, where your salary stays the same, but your lunch is actively trying to disappear. Economists will tell you that inflation is a quantitative measure of the rate at which the average price level of a basket of selected goods increases over time. Blah, blah, blah. Let me translate that for you. Someone is photocopying your money, making the cash in your pocket worth less. Imagine if I poured a bucket of water into your expensive wine. That is exactly what the central bank does to your savings. First, let's agree on something. This paper in your pocket, it's not money. It's currency. Real money stores value over centuries. Gold is money. But fiat currency? It is a hallucination we all agreed to believe in. The problem starts when the referee decides to change the score. When the government needs money for wars, bailouts, or fancy dinners, they don't earn it like you do. They simply print it. Let's take a trip back to 1971. President Nixon temporarily suspended the gold standard. Note the word temporarily, just like your dad went to buy milk temporarily. Since then, money became detached from reality. There is no limit to how much they can print, and when supply goes up, value goes down. It's supply and demand 101, but apparently, the people in charge skipped that class. But here is the dirty secret they don't teach you in school. It's called the Cantillon effect. You see, when new money is printed, it doesn't get airdropped to you instantly. It goes to the banks, the government, and big corporations first. They get to spend this new money before prices go up. By the time that money trickles down to your salary, the prices of houses, stocks, and groceries have already skyrocketed. You are literally paying for their free lunch. The system is designed to transfer wealth from the people who save money to the people who print it. Your grandpa probably told you, work hard, save money, put it in the bank. In 1980, that was great advice. In 2026, that is financial suicide. If inflation is 5% and your bank pays you 0.1% interest, your savings are literally melting like an ice cube in the sun. Holding cash is like trying to carry water in a sieve. You are running a race where the finish line is moving away from you faster than you can run. And have you noticed shrinkflation? Companies are terrified to raise prices on the sticker, so they just give you less. Same bag size, same price, but now flavored mostly with disappointment and oxygen. At this rate, by 2030, a king-size chocolate bar will just be a wrapper and a fond memory of cocoa. But wait, it gets worse. You might look at the news and see them say, inflation is only 3%, and you look at your grocery bill, which is up 30%, and you think, am I crazy? No, you are not crazy. You are being gaslighted. They use a metric called the CPI, the Consumer Price Index, but I call it the CP lie. Here's how they rig the game. Substitution. If the price of steak goes up too much, they simply remove steak from the basket and replace it with hamburger meat. If hamburger gets too expensive, they swap it for chicken. If chicken becomes a luxury, they might just suggest you eat bugs. And then they smile and tell you, look, the cost of living hasn't gone up. Technically true, because you are now eating garbage instead of food. They are measuring the cost of survival, not the cost of living. But before we talk about what to do, you need to understand the machinery underneath the floorboards. Most people think the economy is like the weather. It just happens. Rain comes down, prices go up. But the economy is not the weather. It is an engine. And that engine was built by people who know exactly how to pull the levers. Let's talk about the greatest magic trick in human history. It's not pulling a rabbit out of a hat. It's pulling $1 trillion out of thin air. It is called fractional reserve banking. This sounds boring, I know. It sounds like something a guy in a gray suit whispers to you to make you fall asleep. But stay with me, because this is how they rob you without pointing a gun. Imagine you have $1,000. You worked hard for it. You scrubbed floors, or coded websites, or sold lemonade. You take this cash to the bank. You think the bank takes your money, puts it in a safe, locks the door, and keeps it there until you come back, right? Wrong. The moment you hand over your deposit, the bank is legally allowed to lend out 90% of it to someone else. So, they keep $100 in the vault, and they lend $900 to Dave, who wants to buy a used car. Now, Dave gives that money to the car dealer. The car dealer takes that $900 and deposits it into his bank. His bank keeps 10%, $90, and lends out the remaining $810 to Sarah, who wants to renovate her kitchen. Sarah pays the contractor. The contractor deposits the money. The bank lends it again. Do you see what is happening? We started with $1,000 of real money, but now you think you have $1,000. The car dealer thinks he has $900. The contractor thinks he has $800. If you add it all up, the banks have created $10,000 of currency out of your original $1,000. It is a hallucination. It is numbers on a screen. If everyone went to the bank on the same day to withdraw their cash, the whole system would collapse in an hour. It's called a bank run, and it's the nightmare scenario. The only reason the system works is because we all agree not to ask for our money at the same time. We are playing a game of musical chairs, and there is only one chair for every 10 people. Okay, Blobski, you say. So banks are wizards. Why does this hurt me? Because every time they create this credit money, they are diluting the value of the money you already worked for. It's the bucket of water in the wine again, but on an industrial scale. They get the profit from the interest on money that doesn't exist, and you get the inflation. But wait, there is another layer to this trap. Have you ever wondered why 50 years ago a family could survive on one income? Dad went to work, mom stayed home if she wanted to. They had a house, a car, and a vacation. Now, you need two incomes just to pay the rent on a shoebox apartment. This isn't an accident. This is the two-income trap. When women entered the workforce in large numbers, it was a great victory for freedom and choice. But mechanically, looking at the economy, it doubled the labor supply. What happens when you double the supply of something? The price goes down. Corporations realized, hey, now that households have two incomes, they have more money. Let's raise the prices of housing, healthcare, and education. So, over a few decades, the cost of living adjusted to absorb both salaries. Now you have to work, both of you. The system effectively confiscated the extra productivity and handed it to landlords and universities. You are running twice as fast to stay in the exact same place. And speaking of running, let's look at the treadmill you are on. It's called planned obsolescence. Have you noticed that your grandma's refrigerator from 1985 is still running in a garage somewhere, keeping beers cold? Meanwhile, your $2,000 smart fridge died after 4 years because the Wi-Fi chip overheated. This is a conspiracy that is actually true. It started with the Phoebus Cartel in the 1920s. The biggest light bulb manufacturers, Philips, General Electric, Osram, had a meeting. They had a problem. Their light bulbs were too good. They lasted too long. If a bulb lasts forever, the customer never buys another one. So, they literally signed an agreement to make their products worse. They reduced the lifespan of a light bulb from 2,500 hours to 1,000 hours. They engineered them to fail. Today, this is everywhere. Batteries that cannot be replaced. Software updates that slow down your phone. Clothes made of plastic that fall apart in the wash. They are stealing your wealth by forcing you to rebuy the things you already own. You are not accumulating assets. You are renting your lifestyle from corporations that view you as a subscription service. This brings us to the most terrifying phrase in modern economics. You will own nothing, and you will be happy. They are transitioning us from an ownership economy to a rentership economy. Think about it. You don't own your movies anymore. You pay Netflix. You don't own your music. You pay Spotify. You don't own your software. You pay Adobe a monthly fee. Car companies are now trying to charge you a monthly subscription just to use the heated seats in the car you already bought. Why? Because ownership is freedom. If you own your house, your car, and your data, you are hard to control. You can say no. But if you rent everything, if you miss a payment, they turn off your life. You become a serf in a digital feudal system. The lord of the manor is now a server farm in Silicon Valley, and you are tilling the fields for likes and views. Now, let's address the elephant in the room, the confusing paradox. You might say, Mr. Blobski, you keep talking about inflation, but TVs are cheaper than ever. I can buy a 4K TV for $300. Yes, this is the battle between technology and currency. Technology is naturally deflationary. It makes things cheaper, faster, and better. In a world with sound money, like gold, prices should be dropping every year. Computers, food, energy, everything should be getting cheaper because we are getting better at making them. Imagine a world where you work less every year because your money buys more. That is what should be happening. But the central banks are terrified of this. They are terrified of deflation. Why? Because the government is in debt up to its eyeballs. In a deflationary world, debt gets harder to pay back. So they print money to fight the technology. The result? Things that can be manufactured in China by robots, TVs, toys, plastic junk, get cheaper. Things that cannot be printed or automated, land, housing, fine art, skilled labor, healthcare, education, skyrocket in price. You can afford a flat-screen TV to watch in the cardboard box you live in because you can't afford the house. They give you cheap distractions while making the essentials of life, survival and status, unattainable. This is the bread and circuses of the Roman Empire, updated for the digital age. Speaking of Rome, let's look at history, because if you don't know history, you are just a leaf blowing in the wind. Every empire dies the same way. The Roman Empire, the Weimar Republic, the British Empire. It follows a script. Act 1. The empire is strong. The money is sound. Act 2. The empire gets greedy. Wars, welfare, corruption. They spend more than they earn. Act 3. They start clipping the coins. Nero literally melted down silver coins and mixed them with cheap metal to make more coins. Today, we press a button on a computer, but it's the same fraud. Act 4. The population notices prices rising. They get angry. The government blames greedy merchants or foreign enemies. They introduce price controls. Act 5. Confidence breaks. Hyperinflation. The currency goes to zero. A new system rises from the ashes. We are currently somewhere between Act 4 and Act 5. But here's the tricky part. It doesn't happen in a straight line. It happens like a ketchup bottle. You know when you hit the bottom of a glass ketchup bottle? You hit it and nothing comes out. You hit it again. Nothing. You hit it harder. Suddenly, splat. The whole bottle comes out at once. That is how currency collapse works. For years, they print money and it seems fine. The stock market goes up. Everyone feels okay. Then, psychology shifts. People lose faith. Once people realize the paper is worthless, they rush to trade it for anything. Cars, watches, gold, toilet paper. The velocity of money explodes. And that is when you get the splat. Okay, Mr. Blobski, stop depression posting. What do we actually do about this? The instinct is to panic. Maybe bury gold bars in the backyard or start paying for groceries with bottle caps. But panic is not a strategy. To survive in a rigged casino, you don't flip the table. You learn how to count cards. First, you have to perform a mental surgery. You need to surgically remove the idea that saving cash is safe. It isn't. Cash is a melting ice cube, remember? In this environment, saving is actually a slow form of bleeding. To stop the bleeding, you have to become something the system hates, an owner.
You see, the economy is split into two worlds. World A is for people who work for money. World B is for people who own assets. In World A, inflation destroys you. Your wages lag, your costs rise. But in World B, inflation makes you rich. Think about it. If the government prints $1 trillion, where does it go? Into the stock market, into real estate. If you own a house and the price goes up by 20%, did the house get 20% bigger? Did it grow a new bathroom overnight? No, the house stayed the same. The currency just got smaller. If you were holding cash, you lost. If you were holding the asset, you surfed the wave. The goal of the game is to move your life from the passenger seat of cash into the driver's seat of assets.
But Blobski, I can't afford a house. I spent all my money on avocado toast and rent.
I hear you. But assets doesn't just mean a mansion in Beverly Hills. It means anything that has scarcity. This is the magic word, scarcity. The dollar, not scarce. They can print it to infinity. Bitcoin, scarce. Only 21 million, ever. Gold, scarce. You can't print gold. You have to dig it out of the ground. Even a profitable business is scarce. When you hold something scarce, you are betting against the printer. You are building a raft that floats when the flood of paper money comes crashing down. Now, let's talk about the scariest weapon in the rich person's toolkit. The one your parents told you to avoid like the plague. Debt. Debt is bad, they said. Pay off your credit cards. And yes, consumer debt, buying shoes or phones on a credit card at 20% interest, is financial suicide. That makes you a slave. But remember the bad math of inflation? Let's flip it. Imagine you borrow money at a fixed interest rate of 4% to buy a rental property. But inflation is running at 7%. Do the math. The bank is charging you 4. The economy is devaluing the money by 7. You are effectively being paid to borrow that money. The debt gets easier to pay off every single year because the dollars you pay back are worth less than the dollars you borrowed. This is how the rich get richer. They short the dollar using debt. They buy real assets with fake money, let inflation eat the debt, and keep the asset. It's like stealing, but legal. However, don't run out and max out your credit cards yet. This requires cash flow. You need to be able to make the payments. But conceptually, you need to understand that in an inflationary world, holding debt on appreciating assets is a hedge. Holding cash is a liability. Now, let's look at the trap waiting for you. The stock market casino. You're told to just buy the index fund and wait. And generally, that's better than cash. But you need to understand the nominal versus real illusion. Let's say the stock market goes up 10% this year. Yay, you made money. But wait, inflation was 5%. So, in reality, you only made 5% purchasing power. But here comes the tax man. He doesn't care about inflation. He taxes you on the full 10% gain. After taxes and inflation, you might actually be losing purchasing power, even though the line on the graph went up. This is the government's invisible tax. They devalue your money, push up asset prices, and then tax you on the fake gains. It is a masterclass in extraction. So, what is the defense? You need asymmetry. You need investments that don't just keep up with inflation, but have the potential to outperform it massively.
This is why people look at technology, crypto, or emerging markets. You are looking for growth that outpaces the printer. But let's zoom out. Why is this happening now? Why does it feel like the system is shaking? Because we are at the end of a long-term debt cycle. For 40 years, interest rates went down. It made money cheap. It made borrowing easy. It made everyone feel rich. But now, we hit zero. We can't go lower without breaking the laws of physics, or entering the weird world of negative rates where you pay the bank to hold your money. So the only tool left is printing.
And this leads us to the final boss battle, the thing coming next. If you think paper money is bad, wait until you meet CBDCs, central bank digital currencies. Imagine a dollar that is fully digital, programmable, and controlled by the Fed. Right now, if you want to buy a coffee, you hand over cash. It's private, no one knows. With a CBDC, every transaction is tracked. But it gets worse. They can program the money. Imagine the government wants to stimulate the economy. They could airdrop money into your digital wallet that expires if you don't spend it within 30 days. Use it or lose it. Imagine if they decide you've bought too much carbon-heavy meat this month, so your money simply stops working at the burger joint. This isn't science fiction, it's already being piloted. The transition from fiat currency to digital surveillance tokens is the endgame. And in that world, holding independent, decentralized assets, things outside the system, becomes not just an investment strategy, but an act of self-preservation. The solution is to become a sovereign individual. This means taking responsibility for your own existence. The nanny state is broke. The pension fund is empty. No one is coming to save you. This sounds scary, but it is actually liberating. Here is your expanded toolkit for the modern age. 1. The education arbitrage. Stop paying $50,000 for a degree that teaches you how to be an employee in a dying industry. The internet contains the sum of human knowledge for free. You can learn coding, sales, engineering, or design on YouTube and specialized platforms. The economy rewards skills, not credentials. If you can solve a problem for someone, they will pay you. A degree is a receipt, a skill is a weapon. Arm yourself. 2. Geographic arbitrage. If you live in a city where rent is $3,000 and a sandwich is $20, you are playing the game on hard mode. If you have a digital skill, move. Go to a place where your dollar buys you a king's life. There are countries where you can live like a millionaire for $2,000 a month. Why suffer in a concrete jungle just to say you live there? Vote with your feet. Go where you are treated best. 3. Build a personal brand. In the age of AI, average is dead. AI can write average emails, create average code, and make average art. You need to be distinct. You need a voice. Whether you are a plumber or a poet, if people know you, trust you, and like you, you have a moat around your castle. Reputation is the one asset that inflation cannot destroy. If you are known as the guy who gets things done, you will always have food on the table. 4. Understand good debt versus bad debt. We touched on this, but let's drill it in. Bad debt. Borrowing from your future to enjoy today. Credit cards for vacations. This makes you poor. Good debt. Borrowing to buy an asset that pays for the debt. A mortgage on a rental property, a loan for a business. The rich use debt as a tax-free way to get cash. If you borrow against your assets, you don't pay capital gains tax. Learn how the tax code works. It is a rule book. If you don't read the rules, you will lose the game. 5. Community is capital. When the currency fails, who will help you? Your Instagram followers? Number. Your neighbors, your friends, your family. Invest in relationships, real ones, not digital likes. If things get ugly, a friend who knows how to fix a generator or grow potatoes is worth more than a Bitcoin. We are social animals. We survived the Ice Age because we worked together. We will survive the inflation age the same way. Let's wrap this up. The world is changing fast. The tectonic plates of the economy are shifting. It is easy to be cynical. It is easy to say, the game is rigged, and give up. Yes, the game is rigged, but you still have to play it. And the beautiful thing about a rigged game is that once you know how it is rigged, you can stop being the victim. You can stop being the battery that powers the matrix. You have the most powerful computer in the universe sitting inside your skull. You have access to information that kings and emperors would have killed for. You have the ability to learn, adapt, and create. Don't let them scare you into submission. Don't let them distract you with culture wars and cheap plastic toys. Focus, build, own. The paper money might burn, but the fire inside you, that is yours. Take control of your economy and let the rest of the world worry about the price of milk. And hey, here's one investment that cost you absolutely $0, which is the best price you will find in this economy. Smash that subscribe button. It helps the algorithm find other people who need to wake up, and it helps me afford a refill before a cup of coffee costs 5,000 bucks. I'm Mr. Blobski. I think my tie just shrank another 10%, so I'm going to go before it chokes me. Like the video, beat the system, and stay safe out there. Class dismissed.